Newsflash, inflation is spiking. Last time we saw something about that, inflation was at 30-year highs. Right now it's at 40-year highs with some of the recent numbers at 7.9%. That's a 40-year high for inflation, and that's before you account for the oil price spike. So things are already getting somewhat overheated with inflation, but on top of that, to pour some more gasoline on the inflation fire, the printer is once again going to go brr for a while with another $1.5 trillion in additional government spending. So perhaps with the printer going brr with so much inflation, perhaps it's not a really bad idea to have some exposure to crypto assets. Another interesting point on owning cryptos that is becoming a little bit more relevant more recently is that money, the traditional fiat money especially, is used for censorship whenever some are acting in contradiction to how the government would like them to act. Unfortunately, some governments, often claiming emergency powers, might actually cut people out of their access to fiat money, and perhaps without much of a due judicial process. And as we've seen more recently, even for those who haven't expressed their dissent in any way, they might be affected pretty hard in case if some of those unstable governments get sanctioned and perhaps thrown out of SWIFT. We see huge lines in front of ATMs and in front of banks in Russia, for example. So again, perhaps holding some cryptos is not really that bad of an idea, especially if you are holding the keys to your cryptos. In other words, without holding the crypto assets on some other exchange, which might still limit your access to those assets. With all that in mind, again, perhaps it's not a bad idea to have at least some exposure to cryptos. And another interesting thing about cryptos, and that's the main topic for this video, is that there are often airdrops to various holders of cryptocurrencies. There have been loads of examples of airdrops over the last multiple years of crypto history. For example, Bitcoin Cash was airdropped to Bitcoin holders. XLM, Stellar Lumens, were also given to Bitcoin holders. A couple of years ago, Hex was given to Bitcoin holders as well. And there is another interesting airdrop that is taking place right now that I want to tell you about. Perhaps it might be worth a couple of your minutes. For the Hedron airdrop, you can go to hedron.pro. And Hedron is an ERC20 token that is going to be given to Hex holders, as I said. And an additional interesting point here that might be missed by a lot of crypto investors is that just like most other ERC20 tokens, including Hex, Hedron will also be copied on the Pulse chain, which is perhaps upcoming in the next couple of months. So the airdrop of Hedron that you might get now on the Ethereum chain, again, will be copied on the Pulse chain. You'll have Hedron and you'll have your Hex on both Ethereum and Pulse chains. Another interesting point about Hedron is that both the Hex OA address and the Godwell in Hex both have already claimed their Hedron airdrop. So perhaps that's a bit of an additional reassurance in relation to claiming your airdrop. And claiming a Hedron airdrop actually has some time component to it. There is a time bonus, which last week started at around a 10x bonus. Right now it's already down to 9x, and this bonus is going to drop by 1x every week. I hadn't claimed when the bonus was equal to 10x. I'm going to claim while the bonus is equal to 9x. And this 9x bonus will drop to 8x bonus, as you see over here, in about 2 days and 18 hours. That's going to be Friday this week. So to claim your Hedron, you click on Mint your Hedron over here, or alternatively, you can click over here at the top at Hedron dApp, which will ask you to connect your MetaMask wallet. In my experience, it actually takes quite a few minutes for the data on your Hex holdings to load a little bit. Perhaps it's my internet, perhaps your experience will be faster. but the data being loaded is actually your hex stakes. So the interesting thing about Hedron is that it's only airdropped to those who have ongoing hex stakes. And the amount of Hedron that hex stakers can claim depends on the amount of time that has already passed since the beginning of the stake and the number of T-shares that the stakes are allocated. T-shares, or in this case, in case of Hedron, it actually depends on the number of B shares. So 1 T-share is equal to 1000 B shares. And when claiming or minting your Hedron, when you are trying to get this airdrop, there are a couple of actions that you can perform. You can either simply claim the Hedron, which will simply lock your time bonus without minting the actual Hedron at the moment. Because as the stake progresses, as more times pass within the stake, the amount of Hedron that the staker can mint, actually create, increases. So instead of claiming and minting the Hedron now, then later on minting more of that Hedron based on additional number of days within the stake passing, instead of paying a relatively high Ethereum transaction fees twice, the hex holder might actually claim now, which will lock the 9x bonus as it is right now. This lock will also apply for the future fork of Hedron on the Pulse chain. And later on, before the hex stake expires, the hex staker, the hex holder, can actually mint those Hedrons all in one transaction, trying to minimize the amount of Ethereum fees. So those are the options. I hope it's worth a couple of minutes of your attention. Looking at the numbers, the price of Hedron right now is something about 4 millionths of $1. But if you have hex stakes with, let's say, something like 30 T shares or 30,000 B shares, and if you have been in hex for quite a while, if that stake has been ongoing for a few hundred days over here, that would give you around 150 million Hedron, which at the current price might be something around $600 worth of an airdrop, minus the Ethereum transaction fees of say $10 to $20. So yeah, it looks like it might actually be worth a couple of minutes of your attention. For more on the Fed policy on inflation, on CPI and money supply, see the videos linked down in the description. And while you're there, why not hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Bye-bye.